Buster Douglas is remembered as a 42-to-1 underdog. Nobody was ever paid at 42-to-1. The Mirage posted that number in February of 1990, and it sat there untouched while money kept arriving on Mike Tyson. The longest price anyone actually collected on Douglas was 38-to-1 on a stake of $1,500. That gap between the figure people repeat and the figure somebody could have been paid runs through most of the biggest boxing upsets. It's the part worth looking at. Next, the price nobody was ever paid. Tyson went to the Tokyo Dome on the 11th of February 1990 at 37-0 with 33 knockouts. He was 23 years old, carrying a $6 million purse, with a Holyfield fight already signed for that summer. Jimmy Vaccaro ran the Mirage sportsbook at the time, and he's the one who walked Action Network through how the number moved. Douglas opened around 27-to-1. At that price, Vaccaro booked $54,000 on Tyson to win $2,000. He pushed the underdog out to 31-to-1 and got roughly $93,000 on Tyson to win $3,000. He eventually laid 38-to-1 on Douglas, to an old hand who told him that no fighter deserves that much respect. Then 42-to-1 went up, and nothing came back on it. The largest single wager Vaccaro booked across the whole run was $168,000 on Tyson, laid to win $4,000. Convert that latter to implied probability, and it reads 3.57%, 3.12, 2.56, and 2.33. The famous number sits at the bottom, and it's the only rung on the ladder that never traded. Meanwhile, the warning signs were sitting in plain view. Tyson had arrived in Japan a month early and barely trained. His sparring partner, Greg Page, had put him down in the gym. One wrinkle on sourcing. The World Boxing Council's own retrospective describes Las Vegas sportsbooks, plural, making Tyson a 42-to-1 favorite. ESPN and the bookmaker who actually set the line both say one book. Take the bookmaker. Next, why only one book priced it? Every sportsbook in Nevada took action on that fight. Almost none of it was on who would win. Vaccaro's account is that the rest of the market offered round and method props only, and the most popular bet in town had Tyson ending it in the second or the third. His reasoning for giving up on a straight price was plain enough. As Tyson kept flattening people, the underdog drifted from 6-to-1 to 8-to-1 and onward, until the exercise stopped meaning much. So the odds everyone quotes were one trader's opinion, posted at one counter, with nothing competing against them. Vaccaro also happened to have authority most of his peers lacked, since he could move a number without clearing it upstairs. A price set that way says what one man thought. It doesn't say what a market concluded, and the difference matters a great deal when somebody builds an argument on the figure. Next, what Ruiz cost at 3 different books. Andy Ruiz Jr. fought Anthony Joshua at Madison Square Garden on the 1st of June, 2019. He took the fight on short notice after Jarrell Miller failed multiple drug tests and lost his license. 3 books, 1 night, 3 different opinions. The Westgate Superbook closed Ruiz at 10-to-1. William Hill had him at 12. FanDuel went out to 14. That runs from 9.09% implied down to 6.67, and it comes to $400 per 100, staked between the best number and the worst. Joshua scored the first knockdown in the 3rd round and looked close to ending it. Ruiz put him down twice in that same round, and twice more later. 4 knockdowns in all, and the referee waved it off in the 7th. Then there's the figure that belongs on every page about this fight. Action Network and ESPN both reported that 96% of the bets William Hill wrote in Nevada were on Ruiz, while 90% of the total money was on Joshua. Nick Bogdanovich, who ran trading for the book, said the 12-to-1 price left William Hill a small loser on the night. Those 2 percentages describe the same fight. Counted by tickets, the public was overwhelmingly on the underdog. Counted by dollars, it was overwhelmingly on the favorite. Most published betting splits report one of those without saying which, and the two can point in opposite directions on the same event. The worst individual ticket of the evening was a $100,000 bet on Joshua at a Nevada William Hill, laid to win $5,000. Next, Clay got longer as the fight got closer. Cassius Clay met Sonny Liston at the Miami Beach Convention Hall on the 25th of February, 1964. Clay was 19-0 and 22 years old. The line went the wrong way for anyone hoping to catch the underdog cheap. Contemporary accounts put Clay around 7-1 when the price first appeared, and by the opening bell he was out to 8-1. That's 12.5% drifting to 11.1. The number got longer as the fight got closer, which is the opposite of what a contrarian wants to see. Of the 46 sports writers at ringside, 43 picked Liston to win inside the distance. What almost nobody priced was Liston's condition. He'd been carrying bursitis in both shoulders for close to a year and taking cortisone for it, and he re-injured the left one in training. He retired on his stool after 6 rounds. Joe Louis called it the biggest upset in the history of boxing, a claim Douglas would take off him 26 years later. Next, Braddock and the Graveyard of Champions. James J. Braddock beat Max Baer over 15 rounds at the Madison Square Garden Bowl in Long Island City on the 13th of June, 1935. He was a 10-1 underdog, and by Action Network's reckoning, that stood as the benchmark for a heavyweight title underdog right up until Tokyo. Braddock had been working the docks and drawing public relief. Damon Runyon called him the Cinderella Man, and Russell Crowe played him in the 2005 film. One detail the story tends to skip. The venue was nicknamed the Graveyard of Champions because no reigning champion had ever successfully defended a title in it. BoxRec still carries that in its notes on the fight. Anybody could have looked it up before a bet was struck. Next, 4 upsets with no surviving price. Gene Tunney outpointed Jack Dempsey over 10 rounds in Philadelphia in September of 1926. He beat him again 364 days later at Soldier Field in the fight remembered for the long count. Leon Spinks had 7 professional fights behind him when he took a 15-round split decision from Muhammad Ali in Las Vegas in February of 1978. The Ali fight was his 8th, and it made him heavyweight champion at 24. Max Schmeling floored Joe Louis in the 4th and stopped him in the 12th at Yankee Stadium in June of 1936, handing Louis the first loss of his professional career. Louis knocked Schmeling out in the first round when they met again 2 years on. Randy Turpin outworked Sugar Ray Robinson over 15 rounds at Earl's Court in July of 1951. Robinson took the title back 64 days later. No contemporary price survives for any of those 4 in a form worth quoting. 4 of the most famous upsets in the sport, and the number that would make them an argument about pricing is simply gone. Next, what these numbers do not prove. 4 fights with a documented price spread across 84 years. Across that same stretch, the favorite won the overwhelming majority of championship fights, and nobody has ever written that list. Boxing is close to the worst sport available for building a sample. A heavyweight fights 2 or 3 times a year at the outside. No schedule exists, no league, no auditable archive of closing prices, and the fights that get made are chosen by promoters partly for how one-sided they look on paper. Douglas and Tyson had 1 liquid price in the entire country. Ruiz and Joshua carried 3 different prices at 3 books on the same night. Neither one can be backtested. What the record does show, fairly consistently, is that the information was usually sitting there. Liston's shoulders, Tyson's camp, a venue where no reigning champion had ever held onto a belt. Available and unpriced is a real observation. Available and profitable is a much larger claim, and nothing here establishes it. Boxing also carries variance high enough that a single punch resolves the whole question, which cuts against long-run reasoning rather than for it. Vaccaro kept lengthening Douglas because Tyson money wouldn't stop arriving, and he wanted it to stop. It didn't. People laid $54,000 to win $2,000, then $93,000 to win $3,000, then $168,000 to win $4,000, and every one of those tickets was worthless by the 10th round. So the Mirage booked around $13 million on the biggest upset in the sport's history and won roughly $400,000 on it. The one book in Nevada willing to price the fight got the result completely wrong and still came out ahead, because almost everyone who bet it had taken the short end at a price that paid almost nothing. The man who laid $168,000 to win $4,000 told Vaccaro he'd be back to collect. He never came back. If this was useful, hit the like button and subscribe. The full analysis, with sources, is at LoserWins.com.